we're going to be solving polynomial equations in factored form. So the first thing I want you to do is on page 219 of your student journal. Take a look at that. I want you to complete exploration number 1 with the person next to you. Okay? On exploration number 1, you're supposed to be matching the 3 different pieces here. So which factored form matches with which standard form? And so like if A goes with A, and then maybe it goes with number 3. Okay? So if it were me, I would maybe try to multiply these out first and see which of these match this. Or use clues that you know about multiplying these out to figure out which one would become this. Okay? And the same thing here. All right? So, or maybe try to match these up first and then match with that. Okay? Get a couple more minutes. Let's see here. If I multiply this out, or think of it this way, we'll do this first one multiplying. Okay, if I multiply that out, that's going to give me x squared, which all of them have x squareds. It's going to give me a negative 3x and a negative x. And then negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. Okay, so like I said, all of them have the x squareds. You get a negative 4x, and then you have a positive 3. Well, there's only one of them over here with a positive 3. Notice all the last terms. All the last terms, your C term, okay, all those terms are different in each of these with the exception of that one and that one. Okay? So if I multiply the last part of each, that gives me positive 3. That tells me that A goes to C. This gives me what? Positive 6. Which one does that one go with? D. Goes with D. This one is negative 3 or negative 2, so it's going to go with A or B. We'll come back to that one. This one's also negative 2. This one is negative 3. It goes with E. Okay, this one right here, do I have more positives or negatives? Okay, so this one right here, do I have more positives or negatives? I had 2 positives, right, and 1 negative. That means when I multiply it out like this, I'm going to be left with a positive 1x, which is letter B. This one is letter A. Okay? So these can be written down into that format. If I'm going to non-standard form, how can I get from here, say like if I was looking at A here, how can I get from this to one of these? Which one has a 2 in it?
4.
4 does.
And 3.
And 3 does. Okay. Which one does this one go with? Or which one does that one? These are the only 2 with 2s. Which one goes with which? Tell your neighbor what you think. Which one of those has to go with A or B?
A goes with 3. Yes.
Okay, how many say A goes with 3? Okay, how come? Okay? That one has a negative x. Okay. All right. What did they do to get from this format to that format?
They just added 2.
Yeah, they just added 2. They added 2 to both sides, right? They added 2 here, it got rid of it, and they moved it over here. Good. So A goes with 3, so we're going to make that also 3. Okay? Which means number 4 goes with B. 1 goes with D. Okay, it has the negative 6 in it. 6. And 2 goes with? Yep. 2 goes with Ooh, that one's tougher. Let's come back to that one. How about this one? 5 goes with... I think this one goes here. Yeah? Okay. Where does this one go? Yeah, it has to go with that one there. All right. Okay. Kind of tougher stuff. I want you guys to try the next part here. With a partner, you're going to substitute these values in. Plug them in for x and see what you get. Okay? If it's true or false. So just put a true or false. When you put 1 in, does it equal 0? True or false? 2 and so on. Okay? So you're just plugging. So like if we do this one, we put 1 in. 1 minus 1 is...
Oh, yeah. I know, but
okay. Yeah, you put them in for both the x's. Yep. Yep. Calculate it out, get true or false. Okay, so checking your work there. So we have a bunch of trues. What do you notice about where the trues end up? Tell your neighbor what you can kind of come up with where you get those trues.
Like 1 minus 1.
Hey, what do you guys think? Yeah. Good. Yeah, it's where you get those zeros, right? I go 1 minus 1 and 2 minus 2. Okay, it's whatever will make your quantity, your parenthesis piece, become 0. So when you put 2 in, you get 0 here. When you put 3 in, you get a 0 here. Put 3 in, you get a 0 here. When you put a 4 in, you get a 0 here, and so on. Okay? So really what happens, the product of two values is 0 when at least one of the values is 0. Okay? So if x minus a is a factor of an equation, then x equals a is a solution. Okay? What ends up happening is these are telling us our solutions. Our solution to this function, or this equation, x minus 2 times x minus 3, our solutions are 2 and 3. X minus 3 and x minus 4, our solutions are 3 and 4. X minus 6 and x minus 1, our solutions are 6 and 1. Okay? So you're going to be using that when we're actually factoring and graphing. So to kind of summarize that, I want you to go on to the next page and do your best, answer those, go through A through F there in exploration number 3. If you finish that, you can go down to the communication, your understanding, or your check it out. With 0 and 1, you have special properties that are shared. For the following, decide whether the property is true for 0, 1, both, or neither. When you add what to a number, n, you get n. So in other words, when you add something, when you add 0, you get nothing changes there. If the product of two numbers is blank, then at least one is 0. 0. Okay, that's saying if you multiply anything by 0, like 4 times x equals 0, then x would have to equal 0. That's the only way to get 0 when you're multiplying. The square of 1 is itself and 0. Yeah, both of them work there. 0 times 0 is 0, and 1 times 1. Nice work. When you multiply n by what? By 1. You get itself. You get n. When you multiply a number by n, you get 0. When you multiply by 0, you get 0. And the opposite of blank is equal to itself. 0. Okay, in other words, you can't have a negative 0. All right. I'll let you answer those other two questions down there on your own later time. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and kind of work through factoring and solving. So if you take a look at page... You doing all right there? You upset? Darn paper. Always causing this problem. Why don't you take a look at page 222. So what do you guys think on number 1?
X is 0.
X is 0?
Yeah.
Everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. What two things are you multiplying together? Tell your neighbor there.
X is
Okay, you are.
X and X plus 5, maybe.
Very true. X and X plus 5. Nice work, Jim. Okay. Multiplying those two pieces together. Okay. If you have cool colors, you can use colors. No. I only have them because someone left a pink Sharpie in there. Pretty cool. It's a couple of years ago. I haven't used them for that. Okay, I'm multiplying X by X plus 5. So one of these two things has to be 0. So a bunch of you said X has to be 0. That's true. If X equals 0, that would give us a solution. However, what if this part was 0?
Then X would be negative 5.
Yeah, if X plus 5 equals 0, then X would have to equal negative 5. So really you could have two different answers here. Okay, you get X equals 0 and negative 5. Those are our answers. Sometimes we write it like this. Actually, a lot of times we write it like this. 0 and negative 5. Okay, just putting it in set notation. Either way is fine with me right now. Even if you just left it up here and said that, I'd be fine with that for now. Okay, let's go downward. Let's go to number 4. Okay? Go and tell your neighbor what the two things are that you're multiplying together. C minus 2 and C plus 1. And the only benefit is that when you're multiplying and they're making 0. So if this part was 0, what makes C minus 2 equal to 0? Yeah, 2. Okay, to solve that, you just add 2 to both sides, so C equals 2. And here, what makes C plus 1 equal 0? Good. To solve it, you have to subtract 1. Negative 1. Just 2 and negative 1.
2 and negative 1.
Yep.
Oh.
If you saw another C up there, then you'd have to have 3 answers. Since you only see 2 C's, 2 answers. You see?
It's a stupid question.
Get it? See?
On number 5, would you have to divide by 2?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, let's go on to number 5, actually. Number 5. Take a look at it. Tell your neighbor what the two things you are multiplying together. 2b minus 6 and 3b plus 18. I would hope that you guys are good enough with equations now that you can do these in your head. So if I said 2b minus 6 equals 0, okay, what are the two steps? Don't actually write them out. Tell your neighbor what two things you have to do to get b by itself.
You have to divide by 2.
Oh, wait, what? I got distracted.
Okay, what's the first thing you have to do to get b by itself?
Divide.
Logan. First thing is add 6. What's the next thing?
Divide.
Divide by 2. When you add 6 and divide by 2, that tells you, if you just write down what you're doing, that tells you your answer. What's 6 divided by 2? 3. That's one answer. Okay, and then you have 3b plus 18 equals 0. Tell your neighbor the two steps.
Add 18 and then divide.
So add 18 and then divide by 3. We get, subtract 18. Thank you. Subtract 18 and divide by 3. We get
Negative 6.
negative 6. So our solutions, b equals 3 and negative 6.
What about number 3?
Let's do number 3 next.
No, it's
No, you got it. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Okay.
Try number 7. Jonathan, what do you think it is? Okay, what's the answer?
18.
Yeah. X equals 3.
What? How'd you
So
get that?
smart.
So we have x minus 3 squared. And that means that. And really, it's going to give us the same answer either way. So if x minus 3 equals 0, then x has to be 3. You only have to write it once. You don't have to write it twice. Okay? Any questions? Hey, it's pretty easy when they're set up like that, right? Okay? I want you to move on to the next page, page 223. This part says factor. Okay? Notice that if you look one step ahead, the next set of problems, they're not in this format. Right? In other words, they don't have parentheses. You have to be multiplying for it to be beneficial to equal 0. If you're adding, I could give you an infinite numbers of numbers that add together and make 0. 1 and -1, 2 and -2, 3 and -3. It's not helpful if you're adding to get 0. It's only helpful when you're multiplying to make 0. That's why we liked this format on the previous page. This times that is 0. It means this part equals 0, and this part is 2. We know our answers. Okay? Versus here, we don't. So what we have to do is be able to put it in factored. This is called factored form. And so the first way you do that is you kind of undo the distributive property. If you remember back to this, if I gave you 4 times x plus 2, and I said simplify, what do? Yeah, you do simplify. How do you simplify? Distribute. You get 4x plus 8. All factoring is undoing that. You say, hey, what do you do to get, or what goes into 4 and 8? 4 does. 4 times what is 4x? X. And 4 times what is 8? 2. You've now factored it. Sarah? Right, but you want the biggest number that will go into 4 and 8. Good point. Yeah, you always want the biggest. Okay, so when I'm looking at this one, let's put it in factored form. That means I'm going to have parentheses. Okay. What goes into 6 and 3? 3. What goes into x squared and x? Yeah, x does, right? Nice work, x. Okay. Well, 3 times 6, or 3 times what is 6? 2. X times what is x squared? X. 3 times what is, or 3x times what is 3x? 1. Don't forget that 1 back there. Hey, the benefit of that, we could now solve that if it said equaled 0. Here you're just practicing the factoring. So let's look at number 16.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm
Try number 16. What goes into 2 and 7, and what goes into z to the 7th and z to the 6th? Talk with your groupies about it there.
So,
Is there a number that goes into? Does 2 go into 7 even?
5, 6.
Yeah.
Boy, 7's a prime number.
Yeah, but not evenly. Like evenly, we're saying like no halves, no
What if you
third.
took out the
So you can't take a number then. Only one.
How do you do thingy with the prime number? Do you do 1 times 7x or something like that?
Yeah. Well, 1 times z.
Well, then what would be that?
Let's do that. What's that?
Could you just do 7 times 7 times, and then get
No, because they both have 7. Hey guys, let's do this one.
I don't understand.
Hey, let's break it down to this. Ask yourself, is there a number that goes into 7 and 2 evenly?
No.
No. Other than 1, right? So, we don't put a number out here. They both have z's, so z's going to have to go out there. The question is, how many z's? And the answer is, you always take the smallest one. So, yeah, put 6 of them out there. Why do you put the 6? Because I can multiply z to the 6th times z to the 1st to get z to the 7th. And I can multiply z to the 6th by 1 to get z to the 6th. In this case, I need to put Since I'm missing the 7, I have to put 7 right there. And since I'm missing the 2, I need to put 2 right there. So notice, if I multiplied this out, z to the 6 times 7z is 7z to the 7. And z to the 6 times 2 is 2z to the 6th. I've now factored it. The whole reason we do that is so that you can solve, which is what we're doing in this step right here. So, first step here, factor. So when you think factor, think I've got to have my parentheses. What comes out of 6 and 1? Well, just 1, right? What comes out of k squared and k? K. K times what is 6k squared? 6k. And k times what is k? 1. Okay, you now have your sets. This piece times this piece has to equal 0. That means this part is 0. What are the two steps involved here? What are the two things you have to do to solve that?
Minus 1 divided by 6.
Good.
Yeah.
Subtract 1, divide by 6.
Yeah.
There, got it. K equals 0 and negative 1/6. Very good. Your assignment is to finish the extra practice. Page 222 and 223. Do your best.